Hello, we live in an age where facts don't seem to matter very much anymore. Someone has an EV and they record the data of how much charging it takes, what the cost is, how far they can go on a charge, what the insurance is, tyres, all this information. And they publish these figures and people don't believe them. And they will say things like, oh, well, you'll probably set on fire in 2 weeks' time. And do your neighbours know that you're charging a car close to them? And all this sort of nonsense that's based on lies and innuendo. Facts just don't seem to matter anymore. And even when someone has got the details, the actual details, people like to have their own facts, or what they think are facts, because they're not. They're lies. I was amazed this week when I saw that Facebook were going to no longer have moderators for fact checking. Really? Facebook were fact checking? Really? I find that very hard to believe. And every now and again I come across a story that I think, well, that's just not right. Like this one from the engineer, lawyer, British, that is now in Australia, that says that only 6.9% of our energy comes from wind.
Only 6.9% of British energy supply is currently coming from wind.
So if you go to the National Grid Live, you can see on any day, week, year or all time where our energy is coming from. And it shows quite clearly that for the last week, wind represented 27.8% of our energy, and second only to gas at 37.9%. Half of it we have ourselves and half of it we have to import. Nuclear is in third place at 13%, coal is 0%, we have biomass at 6% and hydroelectrics at just under 2%. Oh, and solar's quite low. That's going to be a lot more, obviously, during the summer. And if you go back to the year and all time, the wind is less. It's under 27% because it's growing, and it's growing all the time. There was a time when you look on to see what the wind was, and it could be in 4th or 5th place, or not even on it. But to say only 6.9% of our energy comes from wind is a complete nonsense. It's possible on the calmest and calmest of days that could happen, but in general it's much more windier. The wonderful thing about wind energy is that you can store it in batteries, and the oil industry and the legacy automakers and the dealers seem to have a problem with storing solar energy in storage. They don't have a problem with storing oil in oil tankers going across our oceans, and they don't have problems with coal on trains and lorries. They seem to have a problem with storage of electricity, and I really don't understand it. It's convenient that they don't understand it. Solar, wind is growing all the time, and it doesn't contribute to our carbon emissions, and that's got to be a good thing.
Chris O'Shea, Chief Executive of Centrica, said the UK's gas storage levels are concerningly low. We are an outlier from the rest of Europe when it comes to the role of storage in our energy system, and we are now seeing the implications of that. As we work towards Clean Power 2030, long-duration energy storage will be needed more than ever in order to help balance a system that is increasingly reliant on renewables.
He's full of emotion. He has no facts, or when he has a fact, it's wrong. But most of the time it's just emotion and head wobbling. He has a very successful channel. 100,000 people listen to this. And I don't know, I suspect a lot of them probably even believe a certain amount of it. Who knows? I don't know.
Long duration energy storage. Yeah, that would be a bloody great tank full of gas, mate. Or a few trainloads of coal. Not some wildly expensive battery storage system that might power the grid for a few seconds perhaps, if you're lucky.
It's interesting when he says how much would all this cost, as if he knows, and he doesn't know. He's a lawyer, there's a cost to everything. and it's important that we invest in the batteries and we invest in solar and wind power.
Is another myth of the alarmists that a climate a few tenths of a degree warmer is going to be catastrophic for the planet.
He comes up with a fact now, and it's
a few tenths of a degree warmer.
Well, it's a lot more than that. It's 2 or 3%, according to pretty much every scientist in the world. Of course, in Australia, where he is, the temperature's in their 30s. We have a nice mild climate here in the UK, seldom below 0, seldom much above 20. So we're okay. 2-3 degrees wouldn't affect us. It would affect Australia, and it will affect the ice caps and affect the planet. He's just exaggerating.
A few tenths of a degree warmer.
He normally goes on electric vehicles, so he's giving them a bit of a rest today and focusing on the thing that powers them, which is the wind turbines and solar panels. And I'm completely surrounded where I live by wind turbines, and I think they're fantastic and they're quite beautiful. And it's a very, very rare day when they don't go round. In fact, I don't think it ever happens. They're always going round slightly, if all but slowly. And most of the time at night, they're going round like I don't know what, producing a lot of energy. So I've owned a Tesla for 3.5 years. I love it. I enjoy driving it. I think if anyone is thinking of buying an electric car, I suggest you go ahead. Definitely if you can charge at home. If you can't, I still think you should. Go on ZapMap and look at all the public chargers around you, and maybe talk to your council about putting in a drain, that if you've got a terraced house where you can run a lead across the pavement to your employer, and maybe they can put in charging where you work, or if you're in an apartment, talk to your landlord and see what can be done there. If your apartment has electric, then and you can park your car, then it's not the hardest thing in the world to get electric to where you park your car. You know, it's not quite rocket science. Also, if you'd like to buy Jen and I a coffee, that'd be very nice. To put a link in down below. And if you're thinking of buying a new Tesla, you can get £500 off one in the UK and up to $2,000 in the United States. Also, if you're not thinking of buying new, buying used, I would recommend that you buy a used Tesla. The prices are coming down to around about £12,000–15,000. Likewise with any used EV. Go to a reputable dealer, and depending on what you want, it's no different from buying a used ice car. If I couldn't afford a new one, and let's face it, most people can't, a used one I would recommend. And I've spent all my life buying second-hand cars. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you can like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.